Hello my friends, and welcome back to the Meerkat Musings YouTube channel. I'm your host Ben, with a musing this afternoon on the topical topic of video games, and in particular the Game of the Year awards, which, if you are into gaming at all, you'll be aware have recently taken place. And there are a few, to me at least, surprises, although to be fair, a number of the games were up for the vote, games I haven't played, I have no experience with. Others I'm kind of vaguely familiar with, so we'll maybe start there. But there are some surprises to me at least, based upon my own direct experience. The biggest surprise for me, by far, is that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom did not win Game of the Year. Personally, I am a huge Zelda fan. I have a Zelda tattoo, for crying out loud. So I would have thought, based upon how epically glorious that game was, especially given the limitations of the hardware, it was a sure thing. But it didn't win. Baldur's Gate 3 was the winner, a game I am not remotely familiar with, it must be said. And in another surprise, Spider-Man 2, a game I haven't played yet, but I want to play, and I have played both the first one and Miles Morales one, won no awards. So a few surprises here and there, at the very least in this Meerkat's humble opinion, as to winners and losers there. There were other success stories as well. Alan Wake 2, another game I'm not familiar with at all. I'm not familiar with the first Alan Wake game. Picked up a few awards here and there. Tears of the Kingdom did win an award for Best Adventure Game, and Nintendo also won the prize for the Best Family Game in the form of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. But overall, Baldur's Gate 3 was a clear winner across a number of categories, including, but not limited to, things like the best performance for voice acting, and of course the overall title of Game of the Year, best community support as well, best RPG, and just generally speaking did very, very well. So congratulations, of course, to the powers that be who produced that game, and I guess commiserations to those who maybe had higher expectations of things like Zelda. But hey-ho, whatever the case, I think lots of people can be very proud of what they've done in terms of games in 2023. Tears of the Kingdom was, to me, absolutely fantastic. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I really enjoyed that. As I say, I can't speak for Spider-Man 2, but if it's anything like the first game and the Miles Morales game, it will be a very, very good game, because I thoroughly enjoyed both of those. And one of the nominees was a remake of Resident Evil 4. Now, to be fair, the original version that I played many, many years ago now was a really, really good, entertaining game. So if the remake has kept the core mechanisms in place, then it's no surprise to see it listed as a candidate. There were some surprises to me. Cyberpunk 2077, which was kind of derided at launch, actually picked up a couple of awards as well. Kind of a redemption arc a bit there, perhaps, for that particular title. And overall, I think it goes to show we've had a very strong year in the category of gaming. But we can look forward to, arguably, even stronger performances in the not so distant future. We can look forward to something. It's more than a year away. You probably know what I'm referring to, but we can look forward to what should be an absolutely amazing experience with Grand Theft Auto 6. The trailer for that dropped the other day. It's immediately amassed millions upon millions of views as people hungrily devour every last scrap of information about the upcoming title. It's not due out till 2025, so it seems to me that Rockstar Games plan to spend at least a good portion of 2024 polishing the product, which is good. It's a good sign. It means I want to release something which is pretty much the finished article straight away. And that's encouraging, you know. You don't want these things to be rushed. One of the things about Tears of the Kingdom that made it so good, if you ask me, is that it wasn't rushed. As much as it's frustrating to wait, when studios take their sweet time to produce a game, you can probably be assured of its quality. And Rockstar Games have been spending a long time working on GTA 6. They've invested a lot of money in this. Rumour has it it's costing them anywhere from $1 billion to $2 billion to make the game. But the thing is, they will recoup that. This is one of the most eagerly anticipated games of all time. So you know that when it does release, at whatever point in 2025 it releases, be it beginning of the year or perhaps later in the year, because we don't know, it will be an absolute surefire, massive hit. I think we can say that with a great deal of confidence. It's one of the games I'm looking forward to. I'm always a bit wary sometimes about a game which gets too much hype. We've seen it before, but I think that GTA 6 will be a very, very successful game, and I think it will be a very fun game to play. Not without its controversies, of course. The Grand Theft Auto series has been a beacon for controversy in so many ways. And in some respects, it kind of takes and magnifies a lot of the, controversy around games in general. I mean, there was a time, I remember it quite clearly when I was younger, when violent scenes in video games were being blamed for troubles among young people, which, if you ask me, is a load of bull. That was a convenient scapegoat, because you're going to find that happens regardless. I mean, if you play Grand Theft Auto, are you going to go on a murdering spree? Well, if that's the case, then why is it that people who play Formula 1 racing games aren't going on to become brilliant Formula 1 racing drivers? You know, I've played quite a lot of Legend of Zelda. You know, I'm not suddenly this amazing adventurer. I've played football games before. I'm not suddenly a superb footballer or a great football manager. So I don't buy into that narrative. But this has been a long-running narrative, and Grand Theft Auto is a focal point for that. The material is violent. There's no getting around it. It is often filled with bad language and sexual content. It is a game which is, rated for people aged 18 and over. Those games always have been. It's no different to how films are rated. And the ultimate responsibility rests upon those who will let people underage access that material. If you're prepared to let your 12-year-old access things like, the Saw films or things like that, then, and then if you're then going to complain about someone playing Grand Theft Auto, then really you're just a hypocrite. I don't believe for 1 second in that particular narrative. Playing a video game will not make someone violent. It really won't. Any more than watching violent TV makes someone violent. But anyway, GTA 6 on its way in 2025. Rumours are abound that at some point in 2024, we will see a new Nintendo console. And that quite possibly might see, say, for example, Tears of the Kingdom, among other things, ported across to this new console. It's by no means certain. There was rumours that Nintendo had begun to issue development kits to studios in preparation for launching the console, but then Nintendo have recently moved to quash those rumours. But those rumours came from someone within the gaming industry, and so it's a question of who do you sort of believe in? There's no question Nintendo are working on something new. That's a known quantity. Is it going to be the Switch Mark II? Is it going to be something completely different? Nintendo have an unusual tendency to switch things up quite radically, whereas with Sony and Microsoft, you can see a steady progression within their hardware. Nintendo will switch it up quite dramatically. The original NES and then, of course, the Super Nintendo, you could kind of see the progression there, and even perhaps as well with the Nintendo 64, although that kind of leapt ahead in some respects. Nintendo skipped the 32-bit console era completely. They went from 16-bit to 64-bit. They were just like, sod it, we're going to jump ahead here. You can kind of see, however, a progression there. And then came the GameCube, and at this point, yeah, it was still generally speaking similar sort of like upgrades in performance. The controllers, of course, kept changing with each new incarnation of Nintendo console. And after the GameCube came the Nintendo Wii, which was completely different. And then came the Wii U, which was quite different once again. And then came the Switch, which was, probably the evolution, in fact, of the Wii U. So who knows what they're going to do next? Convention would suggest that they would try and do something along the lines of the Switch, because the Switch has been a hugely successful console, and it would make sense to build upon that. And it would also make sense, among other things, to have like sort of backwards compatibility, so that people with existing Switch games don't have to then purchase them all over again, because that would really, really suck. But this is Nintendo, and Nintendo will often do whatever they want, regardless of expectation or judgment. They will be like, you know what, we're going to scrap this feature, or we're going to bring in this new gimmick, or we're going to do whatever we like. And to be fair, well, sometimes it pays off dividends. The Wii was a huge success story. The Switch has been a huge success story. Other consoles, of course, not so much. The GameCube and the Wii U were a bit of misfires for Nintendo. If you go back a bit further, the SNES and the N64 were huge success stories for Nintendo. And they've always done quite well with their handheld consoles. But they've kind of backed out of that a little bit, because the Switch isn't really a handheld console. It can be used, of course, handheld, but you can't easily take it with you and use it wherever you want. It's too bulky for that. It doesn't have good enough battery life for that. So it's not like a DS or a Game Boy. Will this be something that Nintendo address? Will they upgrade and adapt? Will they offer us more performance? I've long wondered what a game like Tears of the Kingdom, or for that matter, a Mario or Pokemon game, would look like on a console with the performance of a PlayStation 5. Imagine for a second something like Zelda running on a up-to-date modern Xbox. What you end up with is something that would be absolutely gorgeous. There's no question that such a game would be stunning in pretty much every conceivable way. But we will have to wait and see what's in store. Will this game console see release in 2024? Will it actually be pushed to 2025? Has it always been Nintendo's plan to release it in 2025? Who knows? But one of the inescapable realities for Nintendo is that the Switch is losing its appeal. It's not selling as strongly as it did. It's being supplanted by the likes of the PlayStation and the Xbox. And it's proving to be dated hardware now. It's going to be 7 years old next March. So it's not a young console, shall we say. It's had a good life. It's been very, very successful. But, Nintendo do need to consider what to do next. They do need to think about how they're going to evolve their business. Could we see GTA 6 on a Nintendo console? Probably not. I can't imagine a handheld console like the Switch, even upgraded with modern, today's technology, handling a game like GTA 6. That's going to be something which really does push even the PS5 and the new Xbox to their absolute limits. And it'll probably push even some of the tougher gaming PCs out there as well, although, of course, PCs are always pushing forward with their technology. So that's where I guess we're at with gaming. Do you stand still and run the risk of becoming something of a gaming zombie? Do you push forward and innovate and try to do something even quite daring? What will GTA 6 do that's different to its predecessors? Are we just looking at fancy graphical upgrades, or are we looking at a completely rebuilt game engine with amazing physics? What will Nintendo have planned? How are they going to follow up the success of the Switch? And what will they do in terms of backwards compatibility? When will I get my hands on the new Spider-Man game? I don't know. I would like to play it. I'm told it's very, very good. And there's also another game that I want, which is due out next year. It's actually out on PC now, but there's a game out next year on the PS5, and I'm probably going to go for the console version, just on the grounds I've got the first one, which is Cities Skylines 2. Now, this game has launched to a few degrees of difficulty. Apparently, it's not quite as polished as it could have been, and there has been some grumbling about the gameplay and some bugs, possibly bugs in the game. So perhaps it's good that the console version will come out a bit later on. Perhaps by the time it comes out, the studio will have ironed out the bugs, and we'll get a game which is worthwhile having. The studio in question, they've done some good games. I like the first City Skylines game. There's a game called Stellaris, which is a kind of like a Master of Orion type of space, exploration and conquest game, which is quite enjoyable. And I would really, really like for Skylines 2 to be an improvement upon its original game. But we'll have to wait and see. Of course. Anyway, that's enough for me. That's just a brief, whilst I was feeling inspired to do so, rant or ramble, or whatever you call it, on the topic of the game of the year and games in general. Baldur's Gate 3, I don't know what you're like, but clearly you've been a success story because you've come out of nowhere to a certain degree to me. I didn't even know you existed to become the game of the year. So, many congratulations. And commiserations to the rest, really, for not managing to win. But there's always next year. So I guess we have that to look forward to. In the meantime, folks, I wish you all well. I wish you all a very good weekend. And I will try and do another video at some point very, very soon. Love to you all.